Good morning, Chantilly. I'm Eli Ehlers,
And I'm Mary Sherman. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021.
and here are your morning announcements.
There will be a curriculum fair today. Please join advisory for more information.
October 2020 PSAT scores are now available on College Board.
As the new year starts, 2020 is left behind. Here are our Chargers' opinions on their 2020 Spotify Wrapped music.
2020 Spotify Wrapped is a music collection of the year's most listened to songs and artists. Let's see what our Chargers have been listening to.
My number one artist for 2020 was Ian Dior, and I think that was the case because he just had like 4 or 5 songs like Gone Girl and Tonight that I just listened to a lot of times, so that got my listening for him up a lot.
My top and favorite artist from 2020 was Lana Del Rey, and I was not surprised at all. I had 100% expected it. Lana Del Rey is a very emotional and poetic artist, and I think 2020 has been a very emotional year, not just for me, but for everyone, and she has been a great outlet.
Uzi Vert was my top artist, and I think that's because this year I listened to him a lot. I really like his music, and according to Spotify, I listened to his song Malfunction 92 times, so I think that was also a reason why he was my top.
My number one song, which was You Were Good to Me by Jeremy Zucker. I listened to that song 98 times, which is definitely more than I expected.
This year I had just under 27,000 minutes listened on Spotify, which is a little bit inaccurate because I started using Spotify in like June. It's kind of what I assumed considering I only used the app for half of the year, but had I used it the whole year, I would have expected a lot more than that.
I have listened to 103 hours of music. I was expecting a little less because I switched to Spotify halfway through the year, but I still knew it would be pretty high.
I listened to 20,000 minutes of music this year. I wasn't really expecting more or less. I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I know some people listen to 400,000 minutes, so I guess my amount listened is kind of on the lesser side.
This year, I listened to over 1,200 hours of music, which is about 74,000 minutes, which was not surprising because I turn on music to do basically anything.
2 artists I would be interested in a collab would be Juice WRLD and Calvin Harris.
A Frank Ocean and Jhené Aiko collab for 2021, I think that would be a masterpiece.
I want Kendrick Lamar and Frank Ocean to collab. I don't know if it would ever happen, but I would want them to collab.
If I could have a collab from any 2 artists, it would either be The Weeknd and Giveon or Polo G and Lil Uzi Vert.
Can't wait to see what our Chargers listen to this year. This has been Alex Spawn and Miranda Conroy with the Nightly News. Now back to you.
One of our Chargers owns a hot sauce company with their father. Let's go to George to learn more about the business.
Nathan Good, who is a junior at Chantilly High School, decided to help his dad in his hot sauce company. Let's take a look about it.
If you have a hot lover on your holiday list, then this basket of heats is just for them. 5 bottles of our most popular artesian handcrafted hot sauces produced by Ray's Hell Bottling Company. The various peppers used in making the sauces are all grown by my dad and myself, organically, and always free of pesticides. The hot sauces include a range of heats, from the mildest jalapeno-based Barbasol all the way to the fiery Chernobyl, which features a mix of ingredients including habanero, ghost, and Carolina Reaper peppers.
Nathan, who chose to help his father in his business so it can grow in a short amount of time. We wish him best of luck. This has been George Hakim from the Nightly News. Now back to you.
Now let's look into the history of a famous civil rights activist, Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday is coming up soon.
As Martin Luther King Jr. Day is coming up on January 18th, let's take a look at a famous civil rights leader and others like him.
Born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15th, 1929, Dr. King was raised in a small household with his mother, father, and 2 siblings. From an early age, he would have verses from the Bible read to him by his father, establishing a strong moral compass and dedication to Christian ideologies.
In his adolescent years, he was enrolled into Booker T. Washington High School, where he quickly became known for his public speaking ability.
During the Second World War, while groups like the Buffalo Soldiers and the Tuskegee Airmen were defining themselves overseas, Martin King was defining himself in education. This came in 1944, where his first public speech won him an oratory contest in Dublin, Georgia.
After studying at multiple colleges from Morehouse College to Boston University, he began supporting the civil rights movement by helping boycott Montgomery County buses after the Rosa Parks incident in December. The boycott and subsequent conflict became so intense it led to Dr. King's house being bombed.
Throughout the next few years, King's civil rights work landed him in legal trouble. The FBI monitored his communications on multiple occasions. However, despite all the violence surrounding the movement, King believed that a strong but non-violent solution was the key to desegregation.
In 1963, King, along with other civil rights leaders like James Farmer, Roy Wilkins, and John Lewis, organized the famous March on Washington. It was there, standing at the Lincoln Memorial in front of 250,000 strong, he delivered the now legendary I Have a Dream speech, where he called for the complete end of racism as a whole in the U.S.
This speech proved to be so powerful and moving that it catapulted civil rights to the forefront of American politics.
In 1965, King and the SCLC, a Christian civil rights organization, began working with civil rights workers to begin the now famous marches from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. The three marches gathered thousands to support voting rights for minorities. However, these marches were also met with unrelenting resistance.
This led to the infamous Bloody Sunday, where various pro-segregation white groups threw tear gas into the crowd, along with beating them with nightsticks. 64 were injured, with 14 needing to be seriously hospitalized. The whole event was covered on live television and broadcast across the nation, showing what was happening to them. This coverage led to an increased public support for the marchers.
In March of 1968, King was practicing a speech on a hotel balcony in Memphis, Tennessee, when he was shot by a nearby sniper. His friends were there and got him to the hospital, where it was found that the round went through his cheek, through his spine, and into his shoulder. A few days later, King died of his injuries. The killer was caught 2 months later and died in prison in 1998.
While Dr. King may be gone, his legacy still lives on. Memorials for him were built in Washington, D.C., Newcastle, and South Africa, along with a national holiday being created on his birthday in 1983, signed in by Ronald Reagan.
As MLK Jr. Day comes, I hope we've shed some light on this inspirational activist. This is Pankaj for the Nightly News, signing off.
Well, that's all we have for you today, Chantilly. This has been Eli Ehlers
and Mary Sherman, reminding you to stay positive, stay safe, and have a great day.
And we'll see you next LS.